It's the realist.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your guy Realistic, and welcome to my tutorial vault. That's right, I'm gonna start grabbing some of my most classic tutorials over the years out of the vault and re-releasing them. That way y'all can enjoy, get your mixing and mastering skills back up. So if you find any of the information useful, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That way this keeps showing up in your feed, and sit back and enjoy the content. So right now we're just gonna focus on the decay parameter and what that does and how that works. It's a pretty important parameter when it comes to our reverb because it really decides how long our reverbs last, right? So the decay time is going to determine when that final little tail of the reverb stops. And so a shorter decay time is going to end sooner versus a longer decay time is going to take a lot longer for the decay to die, for the reverb to die out. So there might be situations where you use a shorter decay time. There might be situations where you use a longer decay time. So like I said previously, like if we have a hip hop song where there's just a lot of words being performed at once and there's not really a lot of space or gaps in between words, there's not really a lot of space for a lot of reverb. For instance, maybe like Run This Town by Kanye, Jay-Z, and Rihanna. Well, the rap verses that Jay-Z and Kanye are doing might actually need to have a shorter decay time because there's not really a lot of space in between. Versus if we have like a singer song or like a rap song that has some sing-songsy vocals, for instance, Sway Lee's Borrowed Love, right? There's a little bit more space in between the words and the lyrics, so maybe we could get away with a longer decay time. And then also too, like ballads, like maybe Someone Like You by Adele, we might want a longer decay time. But maybe like a upbeat pop song like Katy Perry's California Girls, we may want to have a shorter decay time because there's just a lot more going on. The BPM's faster, there's less space in between things. So it all really comes down to what's the spacing of the lyrics, and then the BPM will play a factor, and then also what's the mood, what's the genre, and then what's just the overall aesthetic that you're going for. There's going to be a lot of different things that matter and that you should consider when it comes down to this. Let me show you some examples here. We'll start with a slower decay time so you can hear what that sounds like.
Saw you at midnight, just by the firelight. I knew I had to see what it feels like.
So it allows the vocal to feel more upfront and there's less going on. So that can be, like I said, really cool for a lot of hip hop vocals. Now let's listen to a longer decay time. It's going to be a lot more spacious.
Firelight, I knew I had to see what it feels like. To know.
Okay, so that kind of gives it a much bigger sound. There's a lot more going on. It feels more spacious. And then also you could hear that it took a lot longer for the decay time to end. So listen to how the reverb dies.
To see what it feels like. To know.
See how that takes a lot longer time to die out than if we were to have a shorter decay time.
To see what it feels like.
So you can hear the difference right there. So now we got to figure out what we want to set for our actual times, and how do we actually figure out the numbers that we can do? Well, remember earlier in this chapter when I showed you that video on that handy little math formula? Well, this is a perfect example of when we may want to use that. So let's go ahead and take 7,500 divided by our BPM, which is 107, right? And so this is going to bring us to a 30-second note. And I think for that, that's going to be way too fast for a note value. So I want to times this by 2, right? And this is going to bring us to a 16th note. Now, a lot of times for most pop vocals, that would be perfect. I would probably want a 16th note. A lot of times for hip hop vocals, I would probably go for a 16th note. But for this particular song, I feel like there's a lot of room and there's a lot of space. So I'm actually going to bump this up to a 16th note. So let's go ahead and check that out. So all we're going to do is we're going to take this number, 280, and we're going to put this rate in our decay time. So we're just going to type in 2.8, and now our reverb is going to stop on a 16th note. So let's listen to what that sounds like.
Feels like.
So now let's listen to it with the beat so you could hear how it ends musically with the rest of the beat.
To see what it feels like. To know you're on my side.
So it feels a little bit more musical than, let's say, if we were just to put a random number in, like 2.1. That's not really within the confines of the tempo or the beat.
To see what it feels like to know you.
And now let me ramp up the reverb so you could really hear this.
To see what it feels like.
And let's put this back with the BPM of the track.
To see what it feels like to know you're on my side.
So it just feels a little bit better. It feels a little more cohesive and a little bit more solid. So let's bring this back down to where we had this previously. And now I want to show you what the difference is between our 16th and our 8th note, so you can kind of hear the difference in that. So right now we're on a 16th note. So right now we're on an 8th note. So let's bring this down to a 16th note, and so you can hear what that sounds like. So 1.4 for this BPM will bring us to a 16th note.
To see what it feels like.
All right, now let's check out what it sounds like again as an 8th note.
To see what it feels like to know you're on my side.
All right, and now let's actually hear what it sounds like as a 32nd note, so we can hear a little bit faster of a note value when it comes to this. So we'll just type in our milliseconds here.
To see what it feels like to know you're on my side.
I do think for this particular song, that's a little bit too fast of a note value, and the decay time ends too soon, but that is what this could sound like as a 32nd note, and we're still at least locked into the beat. But yeah, I'm just going to go back to an 8th note because I do feel like that's the best for this song. But it's going to change from each song, each tempo, but now you kind of know in the ballpark, so you just really want to use your best judgment. You're listening, analyze the song of, oh, should I have a longer decay time? Should I have a slower? What would feel best for this mood, you know? And sometimes it might be handy to have a few different reverbs in your song, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, because sometimes you might want to have one reverb that has a long decay time and then another reverb that has a shorter decay time. And so maybe for your background vocals, you would use the reverb that has a longer decay time, and then for your lead vocal, you would use the reverb that has a shorter decay time. There's a lot of different possibilities that we'll get into momentarily.
Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this tutorial. If you found it useful, be sure to like and subscribe because it does help the channel grow. When you like a video, it tells YouTube that you liked it, and maybe other people will like it as well. And also be sure to check out my online mixing and mastering courses, the art of beat mixing, the art of vocal mixing, and the art of mastering, all available now. And if this video was helpful and you're looking for other videos, you can watch a video here, here, and here. All right, until next time, y'all.